Welcome to today's video. My name is Robin Thornton, encouraging you to think musically. And what I'm going to have a look at in today's lesson is a couple of strokes that you can play on the guitar. Tirando and Apoyando. This is a video which is done for one of my students who, when playing, let's say, arpeggios, there's a tendency to let the fingers come away from the guitar. Obviously, if your body's scared of something, it's going to try and get away from the thing that's scaring it. If you're making a wrong note, if something sounds bad on the guitar, your body's going, I don't like the sound of that. So what it's going to try and do is get away from the thing that's making the sound, and that's actually exactly the wrong thing to do. I did the same thing when playing double bass, actually, when I kept getting a squeak coming off the string. And what I would do is I'd shorten my bow stroke to try and get away from the squeak, which actually is what was causing the squeak. The very thing I was trying to get away from was the very thing that was happening. Getting away from the string is what's causing a lot of the tinniness in your playing. Anything where you are buzzing notes is obviously your left hand getting away from it. Let's have a look at what's happening with the right hand. So what you could have, see there's a lot of movement there. I'll play sort of around the 5th position so you can see what's happening in terms of the left hand here as well. Now, there's two things that I want to be doing here. Essentially, it's a tirando technique. So I asked a Venezuelan family who was teaching what tirando or what apoyando means. The apoyando I got from the kids. I'll teach you that in a second. The tirando, the kids went, I don't know, we don't tend to use it. Spoke to the mum and said, what does tirando mean? And she again thought, I'm not sure we use that word that often. Oh, I would use it with the sun. Like, don't stop picking at it. You know, if there's a thread on your on a jumper or something like that, you'd wind up picking at it. Or if you've got like a scab, you know, don't pick at it. What we're doing here is a picking that we're playing. Now, if you're not thinking about it, your hand is going to move away from the guitar, which means you're going to go. And if you're not used to the pressure that you place onto it, then that might come out. You've got weak, soft fingers. It makes me think about my dancing instructor who says like spaghetti arms. You need to have structure, you need to have frame when you're dancing. The same kind of thing is happening with the right hand here. So as I'm playing through, even if it's a tirando, even if it's a free stroke, there's a certain amount of pressure as I'm playing through. Feels like the sort of thing like if you've got a bun, like a soft. I've suddenly realised that the word that I'm using here gets called lots of different things on Britain. So a bap, a softie, a roll, whatever you want to call it, depends on which part of the country you're from. But I'm going to squish into it like this. A fair amount of pressure going in. All the way with this because no stairways allowed, right? And then you're hearing here. I'll get back to that one in a minute once I've done the next bit, apoyando. I asked the Venezuelan daughter, what does apoyando really mean? I know what it means in guitaring world, but what does it really mean? And she went, Mum uses that for being annoying. Like, give it a rest. You know, there's a restfulness. So there's a few different things I want you to do here. You could play individual notes, noticing. I'm actually going to go slightly more into kind of Salvador technique here, so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm coming through to rest on the next string. Hopefully this is coming out in the camera. Let's see if I can do this on the fretboard so you can see I'm playing on one string and coming fully to rest here. You can, of course, learn this with full pieces of music, but if you try something with a shorter piece of music or just individual scales, or not even scales, just fragments of scales, and not even fragments of scales, just individual notes, you're getting it right down to, how does that feel? Just to focus on the stroke. And technically it's a chromatic scale. What's happening here is I'm using individual strings to test out my Apoyando technique, coming through to rest. And I can rest in 3 different ways. I can rest on individual strings. Same thing happens with the thumb. I don't know why I chose to figure it that way. I'm actually going into step number 3 there. So let's try this, coming through to rest on the string. So I've got myself nice and tucked in. I often think of this as being feeding the elephant because the trunk goes inside the elephant's mouth, but the tusk doesn't go inside the elephant's mouth. So look, I've got my elephant here and my fingers are going to go in and touch the palm, but my thumb is going to come through and either sort of a tuck. I put my elephant on here. I'm coming through to rest, coming through, all the way through the string, and coming through to rest on the next string. What I did originally there was I came through to rest on my finger. That's another way of doing it. So you don't need to rest on the string, but I would suggest that you come the whole way through the string. So using the open G string and B string here as a counterpoint. Now we would generally use a free stroke when we're playing. Remember that pressure, so let's say I'm taking this E arpeggio across here. I'd only really use Apoyando, or the rest stroke, to bring out a melody. So without this, if I don't use that scratching, picking at, so scratching is a different verb. So between rascar and the word's completely gone out of my mind at the moment. Rascar and rasgar, yeah. So R-A-C-A-R and R-A-S-G-A-R, rascar and rasgar sound almost the same, but one means to separate and one means to scratch at. Tirar is to kind of pick at. So we'll see here. This is fine. Correct amount of pressure. You're not really hearing the melody coming through there. Everything is doing tirando, so the melody's not coming through. Coming through to rest. The melody coming out more, and I can either come through to rest on the next string, which I'll probably do with that tune. You can see I'm coming through to rest on the next string. fine if you're doing individual strings. And if you get to this point where there are chords in it, I think a lot of that, certainly for the first section, I'd be playing using resting through here. You can come through to rest, like that squishing the bun technique. You can come through, or squishing the bap, or squishing the roll, or whatever you want to call it. You can come through to rest on the air. I'm trying not to touch the string. So, that would come in. That one in particular, if you're coming through to rest on the next note, then you're not going to hear that note fully. So what I'm doing is I'm using tirando on that note while using an apoyando, but resting on the air. Kind of feels like I'm pushing a button. I'm picking a point in the air, coming through to rest. So I can push down that button, leave it down, take the button away, and push down, imagining a point to rest in the air. So I play this. So again, it's difficult to start and stop as you're going through it, but if you come through to rest on the next string, you can hamper the note. So there's two different strands in this video that I'm getting to think about. One is it tirando or is it apoyando that you're doing? If it is apoyando that you're doing, then what you want to be thinking about is the correct amount of pressure with both tirando and apoyando. I visualize that as squishing a bap or a roll or a bun. And then you take it away, then you've got that feeling there. So you're either coming through to rest on strings, or you can come through to rest on the air, just pick a point in the air. You need to decide what's appropriate for the tune that you're playing. So there I'm coming through to rest on the finger. Because the melody line's in the bass line, so I need to be able to do a rest stroke with my thumb. And the way that I would practice this is either using individual strings. This could be individual notes, it could be scale fragments, or you could be going through a scale but thinking about it individually, just thinking about your right hand. Spending time playing simple things that focus on your right hand. As you get into multiple notes, the one thing that I did miss out, you can just take two notes. Just playing very small things and practicing those very small things to focus on the right hand, rather than trying big pieces of music, struggling with the music while also trying to deal with your right hand. Never a good idea. So taking smaller things like individual notes, scale fragments, or smaller pieces of music. So you can focus on tirando to pick at with the right amount of pressure. Remember, stay down into the guitar. But apoyando to rest on, which you can either do on the next string, on your finger, or in the air. It feels as I'm going throughout the video that I'm rambling, but I know I'm organized. I know there's points that I'm trying to get to. Stop and start the video, keep watching back, post things in the comments. Of course, if you like the material, then subscribe to it and you'll get to see videos as they come up. If you ring the bell, then you'll get notifications when they come up. My website is robinthornton.co.uk. If you want to organise lessons, and you can post in the comments if you can't find my website for whatever reason and needs some questions answered. I'm not going to do a full lesson through the comments, but I will answer things on the assumption that it's a valid question that you're asking. There are no silly questions, but there are trolls out there. If you're trolling me, I just delete them instantly. But if it's a question, it seems like a genuine question, no matter how silly it seems, ask it, and I will answer it, or somebody in the community will answer it. There are no silly questions, there are no stupid questions. So my name is Robin Thornton. I've been encouraging you to think musically, and I will see you in the next video.